Hello everyone! Today you're gonna join me to discuss chapter 10 or lesson number 10, the global atmospheric changes. So, have you asked yourself why there are extreme weather events such as typhoon or super typhoon, unending rain, and more abnormal phenomena that is occurring in our world? Well, if you want to learn some of the answers, then make sure to finish this video. Environmental problems are already occurring in our planet since the early centuries and turn out to be worse during this time. Let's take a look at our country, the Philippines. Due to industrialization and urbanization as well as the advancement of technologies, we experience one of the common environmental problems, which is the climate change. To understand this, here are the following concepts that we're going to discuss. 1. Defining climate change. 2. What causes climate change. 3. Greenhouse effect. 4. The impacts or effects of climate changes and global warming. 5. The ways to respond through what we call mitigation and adaptation. Alright, so let us start by defining climate change. Well, climate change is defined as the significant and long-lasting change in the Earth's climate and weather patterns. So what does it mean? It means that if there are changes in the weather, for instance, let's say today should be sunny day, but then out of a sudden it turned out to be a long rainy day. Also, if there are changes in the climate pattern, for example, the climate here in Baguio City is no longer cold but it's warm or hot. So what do you think? The causes of this climate change? Well, accordingly, there are two general. First, we have what we call the natural phenomenon. Yeah, examples are volcanic eruptions, natural forest fires, orbital change, and the existence of carbon dioxide. Let us take a look on the existence of carbon dioxide. We know that carbon dioxide is being used through what we call the processes respiration or the breathing process, and as well as photosynthesis, by plants. So meaning the existence of carbon dioxide, or because of, let's say, over time carbon dioxide or the percentage of carbon dioxide is increasing. And because of this increase of the carbon dioxide will cause now what we call the climate change. Okay? So another thing that we need to take note, aside from the natural causes, the second general cause is what we call the second natural cause is no other than what we call the human causes, or specifically we are talking about the human activities, like for example burning activities. So burning fossil fuels, burning plastic materials, burning organic or inorganic waste, and more. Okay? Another example of human activities is that the illegal logging. Yan, illegal logging, clearing, kaingin in our term. And we also have industrial and residential waste. Whatever kinds of waste that is liquid waste, solid waste, inorganic waste, organic waste, and so on. And more of the human activities that will cause now what we call the climate change. Okay? So aside from climate change, since we mentioned human activities, due to these human activities and the increase of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases, we also experience the normal increase of temperature in our planet. And this is also known as the global warming. Okay, so aside from climate change, we also have global warming. To further understand global warming, we should know that there is what we call the greenhouse effect. So what do you think? Is this greenhouse effect has a negative impact towards our planet? So accordingly, greenhouse effect is a natural process that maintains the warmth or temperature of our planet at around 33 degrees Celsius. That is already enough to sustain life here in our planet. Okay, so again, it is a natural process. However, However, due to human activities such as burning fossil fuels, is increasing the amount of greenhouse gases released into the air that leads to trapping extra heat and causing the Earth's temperature to rise. Okay, this is also known as the enhanced greenhouse effect, or commonly known, or we are familiar with the term, the global warming. Okay? So now that we gain the information, or we know the information regarding climate change and global warming and greenhouse effect, what now are the impacts or effects of these mentioned environmental problems? First, we can think of the health effects or health risk. According to some futurists, climate change is expected to cause approximately 250,000 additional deaths per year between the year of 2030 and 2050. So this year is 2022. We still have 8 years to go to respond to this kind of problem so that we can avoid this additional death by the year 2030 and 2050. Also, as the global temperature rise, so with the number of fatalities and illnesses. For example, due to extreme weather events caused by this climate change can lead to injuries, accidents, and even contamination of land, contamination of water, and damages to lead now to what we call community displacement. Okay? And according to study, the warmer and wetter world is also a boon for insect-borne diseases such as what we call dengue fever. So here in the Philippines, we know that there is a high percentage of cases of dengue fever, especially during rainy season or long rainy seasons. Okay? So aside from dengue fever, we also have the West Nile virus, the COVID-19 virus, okay, and other kinds of viruses, and even other illnesses. Okay? We need to consider as well the loss of natural resources and indirect threats to life and property. For example, during typhoon, there are farms or farmlands or agricultural land that is being destroyed by this typhoon. Okay, so lately we do have Typhoon Paeng, yan, and hoping that there are no other typhoons already that will enter our country. Okay, but anyways, that is only an example. All right. There will be changes as well in natural habitats and food supply. So like for instance, or like for example, the migration of animals. So from their natural habitat, they're going to transfer or emigrate, no, to other places or other lands for their survival. Okay, due to the climate change, or maybe due to global warming, or because of this area or this place or their natural habitat is already having a changes in the climate. Instead of cold or cool climate, it turned out to become warmer. So they need to find a place that is basically colder or cooler, no, so that they can survive as well. Okay, so that is an example. Another thing, aside from natural habitat or changes in natural habitat in food supply, another thing is that due to the increase of greenhouse gases, and due to the increase of greenhouse gases, there will be changing in ocean chemistry, or this is also known as the acidification of the ocean, okay, or the ocean water. Accordingly to the study, the ocean is now 30% more acidic than way back during the pre-industrial time. Okay, so take note, 30% more. Okay, so in a simple term, we can say that the warmer the earth, the more acidic the ocean. Okay, or the more the warmer the earth, the more acidic ocean. Also, this can contribute to what we call coral bleaching events, and we have experienced this one, or we do have this kind of case occurred also before, way back 2015 here in the Philippines. Okay, all right. Now the big question is, how do we respond? How do we respond to these particular problems? Now, the climate change and the global warming, okay, and maybe other including the other environmental problems. Well, despite of the effect of what we call the climate change and global warming, there's nothing to debate. There's no such debate now regarding these things, because climate change is basically a reality, or climate change is reality. And we humans are primarily responsible in reversing the effect of these problems through what we call two ways: mitigation, and we also have adaptation. Okay? So mitigation, let's start with mitigation. So mitigation, it means that we are going to reduce the costs or the causes of the climate change and global warming, or even the cause and effect, no? The cause and effect of the climate change and the global warming, such as, or for example, the greenhouse gases. Okay, so how to mitigate? So how can we apply now mitigation? Example, reducing energy use by driving less. Yan. So there are some ways, no? For instance, if you are near to the supermarket or grocery store, you don't need to use your personal or your private car. Instead, you're going to walk, no, and then go to that particular grocery store or maybe a supermarket. All right, another example is planting and maintaining forests. That's why we do have a programs, which is the tree planting program, and clean up drives, and so on, and maybe other activities or programs in line to maintaining our forests, and or the health of our forest. And there are more of other examples through what we call mitigation. Okay, another thing, how about the adaptation? Yan. Aside from mitigation, we also have the term adaptation. So how about adaptation? It is true that climate change is the reality. What we can do is to adapt and involve adjusting to actual or expected future climate. Okay, so for example, to protect the coastal land from the rising of sea level. Yan, as we all know, because of this global warming, the ice sheet from the icelands are melting, and then probably it is also increasing the sea level. No? So as the sea level rise, it may affect also the coastal areas. So to protect these coastal lands or coastal areas from the rising the rising of sea level, we can, one, construct massive seawalls, or people living in coastal areas could move inland, just like in Japan. No? They created a massive seawall because we know Japan is prone to what we call the rising of sea level, or also the tragedy way back 5 years ago or 7 years ago. We have what they call the tsunami, no? The occurrence of tsunami that have a negative impact towards Japan. That's why they created now what they call a massive sea walls along the coastal areas. And another example here in the Philippines. So let's try to look at the Philippines. Flooded areas can build tall houses and strong foundations, being prepared as well and ready during calamities. Like for example, in the province of Quirino or Quirino province, they have instead of one-story building or one-story house, they have two-story buildings, or two-story houses. That is also an example of what we call an adaptation. Okay, so that's it. What are your thoughts about climate change? And if you have other comments or suggestions, feel free to comment below. And thank you. And this is the Breakthrough PH. See you in the next video.